people in my town have been getting replaced by mannequins of themselves. First, allow me to introduce myself. I am a detective and have worked as one for over 20 years. We see some pretty messed up things, but this is unlike anything you'll ever heard before. Legally, obviously I've not been allowed to discuss such a case. However, after a recent retirement, I feel like it's something people need to know about. It all started when I got a phone call about a case involving a missing woman in her 30s. My buddy at the time, who worked at the police station, told me that her husband wasn't making any sense when talking about the situation. Me, being me, I decided to go and see this man for more clarity on the event, even though it wasn't my case. I approached the door of the man's house and knocked firmly. I was greeted by a slow opening of the door and a middle-aged man who looked like he hadn't showered in weeks. I told him that I was there to learn more about the disappearance of his wife. He took me into his living room, and as soon as I stepped in the room, I noticed something wasn't right. There was a mannequin of a blonde woman with glasses sitting on his couch. I just ignored this and sat on a single-seated couch adjacent to the mannequin. I didn't want to be rude. "So, when did your wife go missing?" "It happened about 4 days ago. I tried to look for her myself, and I couldn't find her anywhere. On the morning she went missing, I came downstairs and saw this mannequin here. It just looks like her. I don't understand what's happening. Where's my wife? How did this get here?" I looked into the eyes of the mannequin, and something felt really off about it. For something that was mostly just plastic, it looked extremely human-like. I felt very confused about the situation initially. I thought the man was crazy. The mannequin was perhaps some sort of coping mechanism after losing his wife. After leaving the man's house, we did all regular searches in the local area to find his wife, but we found nothing. A few days later, another case falls on my lap this time. In this instance, a 14-year-old boy is reported missing. I thought this was just another missing person case, until I read more about the details of the report. It stated that on the morning of the disappearance, his mother tried to wake him up for school. She entered his room and repeatedly said his name, but there was no answer. She could visibly see a lump in the covers, so she knew her son was there. When she went over and pulled the covers off her son, she found that a mannequin that looked just like her son was laying in a sleeping position in his bed. Again, we did all the standard searches, and we could not find the 14-year-old boy. The only thing left was this mannequin that appeared in his home. No explanation on how it got there. I checked everything. Maybe there was a break-in. Maybe the mother had a spare key someone might have found. Nothing. The only thing of notice was that the disappearances took place in the same town. What started as a few of these cases had grown into a large number very quickly. A 72-year-old woman was reported missing by her family. A day later, a mannequin that looked just like her was found on the bench of the local park she used to visit frequently. A 41-year-old man was reported missing by his brother. Later on the same day, it's found that there is a mannequin that looks just like the man located underneath the truck in the garage. This man was a mechanic and was apparently in the process of repairing his brother's truck, which had broken down recently. Most disturbingly, a 6-month-old baby was seemingly replaced by a mannequin in his crib when his parents were asleep. After a 3-week period, we found that 11 people in the same town had disappeared and were replaced by a mannequin version of themselves. We tried so hard to find anything about these disappearances, but we found nothing. Not a single lead. It was generally just like 11 people, were swapped with the mannequin version of themselves in an instant, while they were going about their everyday lives. Now, here's where it gets really confusing. About 3 weeks after the people started vanishing and mannequins started appearing, I got a call on my work phone. It turned out to be the man from the first case, whose wife was missing. He told me that he had put the mannequin in the attic, as he couldn't stand the sight of it. On this night, he went into his kitchen to get a glass of water. He entered the room and turned on the lights. When he looked across the kitchen, he jumped backwards and fell on the floor. The man said that the mannequin of his wife that he had put in the attic was standing over the kitchen sink. It just stood there, utterly lifeless. However, its arms had changed position and it had claws in its hands. It looked like the mannequin was about to clean some dishes. Again, I thought this was strange and downplayed it in my head. But then I started to get more phone calls from the people that were involved in the previous cases. The mother of the 14-year-old boy did something similar with a mannequin. It was put away in the garage, as it reminded her of the missing son, which had made her extremely depressed. She came home one day and opened the door to her home. The mother screamed as she was greeted by the mannequin of her son standing right behind the front door. The mannequin of her son was standing on the open hallway, pointing directly at the door, directly at her. She looked into its eyes and said that she felt a level of fear she'd never experienced before. It was as though she had looked into the eyes of pure evil, in her words. She ran out the house and went straight to the police. We checked her home and found the mannequin in the position she claimed it was. All of a sudden, it was like these pieces of plastic had minds of their own. Multiple people from the previous cases said that the mannequins of their loved ones were moving on their own accord. Now, this part will truly horrify some of you. Remember the brother of the mechanic I mentioned earlier. He too found out that the mannequin of his brother was moving around their home when he wasn't looking. It scared him so much that he took the mannequin outside and tried to burn it. Burning plastic isn't exactly effective. However, he was able to completely disfigure the mannequin and left it in the garden. During the night, the man woke in his bedroom and felt something poke against his chest. He reached over to his bedside light and turned it on. The man yelled and frantically pushed as he ran out of his house with only pants on. The man claimed that when he turned on the lights, he saw the mannequin of his brother standing over him in his sleep. The mannequin that was previously left in tatters was somehow completely repaired. It had a knife going through its hand, and it was holding it against the man's chest. The scariest thing, though, was the facial expression of the mannequin. You see, the mannequins all had a tone of death expression, as you'd expect. When the man turned on the light, he said that the mannequin lowered its head and looked directly into his eyes with a knife on his chest. It didn't have a tone of death expression. Instead, it displayed an emotion of anger, almost as if it hated the fact that the brother tried to burn the mannequin, and it wanted to take revenge. A week after these mannequins had been moving around when no one was watching them, they all disappeared. All of them on what appears to be on the exact same day, and they were never seen again. They told me to keep quiet about this, but what's the point anymore? You have no idea how much it hurts to see these people so upset. I'll never be able to shake this feeling off for the rest of my life. The people who disappeared before the arrival of the mannequins were never found.